I think that nowadays, if a man doesn't earn at least 80,000 or 90,000 yuan a month, he's not even worthy. Of course, in the past, when I casually chose a boyfriend, his salary was never less than 60,000 yuan, because my monthly allowance couldn't be less than 40,000 yuan. As for raising the standards, he must definitely be tall and handsome, because looking at someone ugly makes me feel disgusted, and I can't even eat. Because I'm beautiful, the people chasing me line up from China all the way to Japan. Through my own efforts. Without relying on men. A strong and independent woman like this being rejected by society. I truly don't understand. The so-called leftover women. It's really unfair. It's really unfair. Many of us, after graduating, are already 25 or 26 years old. We secure a stable job. And only then, gradually, start trying to meet someone. But before we know it, we're 30. It's no small matter. The pressure from society is enormous. We work hard to support ourselves. And suddenly, we're fully self-sufficient. We manage to buy a house. We pay the down payment. And in the blink of an eye, we're 35. It all happens so quickly. Don't criticize others. Maybe your daughter, in the future, will go through the same as me. And then she'll be insulted. Called unwanted. Discarded leftovers. Leftover woman. Do you think you'd feel okay about that? We, women born in the 1980s who are labeled as leftovers, are actually victims. We are victims of this era. We're no longer that young. Do you realize that? But there's no choice. This is the society we live in today. Many people insult us. Some even think we're freaks. But I see myself as completely normal. Why does everyone else see me as a freak? Is it really so strange for a woman who works hard? Who is ambitious? Who dedicates herself? Who, without relying on men, establishes herself in a big city, with a stable job, a steady income, and the ability to buy a house through her own efforts? To be rejected by society? To be subjected to such harsh words? I truly can't understand it, can you? I just don't understand. Do you understand? If all I wanted was to rely on a man, I could get married. Find someone with good financial means. And not have to work so hard. But a strong, independent woman. In today's Chinese society, being insulted like this, I really don't understand.
Now let's understand why the women who are left over are so discriminated against in China.
Over time, as I got older, the bride price kept increasing. Now it's at 1.08 million. Oh, I see. Yeah. And if you still don't find someone in a few years, will the bride price go up again? If I don't find someone in a few years, well, maybe it will go up. But I feel like I'll find someone in the next few years. You seem pretty confident, huh? Of course. A woman has to be confident, right? And there's something important too. To maintain my figure, I decided I don't want to have children, you know? You don't want to have children? That's right, I don't. But if someone spends so much money to marry you, what's the point? Well, we can be companions. Stay together, right? Grow old together, have dinner, travel, do things like that. Isn't that the idea? Since I'm here, how about you take me to your company so we can register? I think we should just forget it, no need to go register. Come on, I'm already here. Why don't we go register? Didn't you say your city has a lot of rich and handsome men? Registering won't make a difference, you won't find anyone. And I know why you can't find someone, you know? What do you mean by that? Wherever you came from, go back there. What are you trying to say? Just take the subway you came on and go home, alright? Hey, come back.
Failing in blind dates. I think many people have had this experience. And not just once or twice. But maybe dozens or even hundreds of times accumulated. In my case, to be honest, I approach it with a very optimistic and positive attitude. I see blind dates as a process of learning and growth. First of all, in my case, when I was a child, I was the apple of my mother's eye. In fact, I didn't have a clear understanding of myself. Because my mother always thought that, oh, her daughter was the most beautiful in the world. That's why, when I was younger, I only read academic books and ignored what was happening around me. Of course, in school, I was considered one of the prettier girls. But because I hadn't yet stepped into society, I lacked self-awareness. So, deep down, I saw myself as someone really beautiful. I thought my future husband should be like the male protagonists in TV dramas. My self-perception was quite confusing. But after experiencing so many failed blind dates, and accumulating these experiences, I began to reflect. Is it really like that? Am I really that beautiful? Am I really that skilled? In my youth, I was indeed okay. But at the time my understanding was limited and unclear. My vision was overly ambitious. And I only liked that type of Korean oppa. Or men with the dominant CEO style. Men of that type have very high demands for women, requiring both inner and outer beauty, a good family background, and exceptional communication skills. In my youth, I didn't really have those comprehensive qualities. So I missed many opportunities. And now, at the age I am, I realize, so this is how it is. I understand what kind of person suits me, and what kind of person would truly accept me. It was through successive blind date failures that I realized this, and gradually adjusted my self-perception. Moreover, after participating in so many blind dates, now I know exactly what I'm looking for. I've realized that I don't need to completely lower my standards or accept any man just because of social pressure. Of course, I can adjust my expectations, but I also know that I'm not that inferior compared to younger women. I believe that, eventually, I'll find someone who fits perfectly with me. Additionally, blind dates have helped me better understand the art of communication. When I was in my early 20s, I had the chance to meet someone with whom I had an instant connection. A blind date partner I liked at first sight. But as we deepened the communication, I realized it wouldn't work. For example, I met a man when I was 26. He was also 26 at the time. He had an amazing job, working at an investment bank, specializing in financing the culture and arts sector. He had a deep understanding of directors and the exploration of the arts world. When he started talking about the cultural content related to his field, I was speechless. I couldn't respond. He thought, oh, this girl is just all about looks, but doesn't share anything in common with me. When you meet such an ambitious man, and fail to connect with him, you understand? If it were me now, I would definitely delve deeply into his field, and find ways to share common interests with him. In short, blind dates can really help you improve many personal skills. I'm 35 years old, and yes, I'm considered a leftover woman. People say my expectations are too high, but are they really? I'd like to find someone from the 1990s generation, taller than 1.8 meters, who takes care of himself. If we're in Beijing, having a fully paid-off house and car is important. I also hope for an income of at least 500,000 yuan a year, something reasonable for building a future together. There are practical needs too. I don't drive, so it would be nice if he could take me to and from work. I'd want a housekeeper for the home and a nanny when we have kids, so I can focus on spending quality time with my family. About his parents, it's just simpler if they're not around to avoid potential conflicts. I know people think this is a lot. They say, you're only 1.57 meters, how can you demand someone over 1.8 meters? Or, you earn 50,000 yuan but want someone earning 500,000. Why not? I know what I want, and I believe I deserve it. Some even say, at 35, shouldn't you settle for less? But why should I? I know I'm not perfect, but I'm not inferior to anyone either. I believe I'll find someone who aligns with my dreams. That's what keeps me hopeful.
At 35 years old, I decided to attend a blind date event. To be honest, I walked in feeling like none of the men there could measure up to me. People often say my beauty is like a blooming lotus in spring, something that captures and holds attention effortlessly. I've built a successful career. I'm the operations director at a multinational company, earning millions a year. I'm financially independent, and on that day, I dress to impress, wearing something sophisticated and elegant. But my life hasn't always been this way. I come from a poor rural area, and from a young age, all I ever wanted was to leave that reality behind. I studied tirelessly, day and night, and eventually got into university, leaving the mountains that once confined me. That journey shaped me into the resilient and determined person I am today. I've always had a talent for languages, which propelled my career forward. My looks have also given me an edge in the dating world. I know my worth. I'm aware that both my appearance and my skills are my greatest assets. When I walked into the event, I scanned the men one by one, but I couldn't hide a slight smirk. To me, none of them seemed to match me, whether in looks or career. I was confident that, by showing who I am, they would naturally be drawn to me. And many of them were. They approached me with invitations, and I felt triumphant. With confidence, I took the microphone and asked, "Does anyone else want to invite me?" My intention was to test the waters, to see if even more men would step forward. In my mind, I was thinking, is anyone here truly worthy of me? But then, there was an awkward silence. The admiring glances shifted. Suddenly, I saw something between discomfort and detachment in their faces. That's when I realized that my confidence might have been coming across as arrogance. I felt disappointed, but it made me reflect. Was I overdoing it? Was my self-assurance turning into a negative trait? Despite this setback, I haven't lost hope. I've decided that next time, I'll approach things with more humility, showing sincerity rather than superiority. Deep down, I believe that if I lower my guard, true love will eventually find its way to me.
Have you ever seen the most crushing moment for an older single woman? My niece, born in 1988, heard the most painful phrase in the matchmaking market. She has a master's degree and, over the past 3 years in Guangzhou, she met over 50 men through arranged dating events, and none of them were a good fit. Now, in her 30s, not only are her parents worried, but she also feels regretful herself. Right after graduating, no one came to her house to propose a match. Many outstanding men were rejected. She believed that with her education and beauty, she could wait a few years, enjoy life, and eventually find someone. But who would have thought time would pass so quickly, and suddenly she's already over 30. A few years ago, there were matchmaking opportunities with men earning salaries between 200 and 300,000 a year. But in her eyes, some had the right income but the wrong height, others had the right height but the wrong educational background. Most men, however, were put off by salaries that were too low. After all, she earned around 300,000 a year, was 1.60 meters tall, and had a youthful and attractive appearance. For her, settling for anything less than ideal was out of the question. On Labor Day, I finally had time and decided to accompany her to the matchmaking park, a popular spot for arranged dating events. The place was crowded. We walked around, and suddenly we saw a young man around 30 years old, with good height and looks. He was also looking around, clearly there for matchmaking. I pulled my niece aside and struck up a conversation with him. He said he was 35 years old, had a degree in IT, and earned 300,000 a year. He probably found my niece attractive and suggested they could get to know each other better. So, I shared some details about her situation. After listening, he smiled and said, "We're not compatible." I was shocked and began to question why. I asked, "He's a graduate, with a good salary and looks. How can he not be suitable for you?" The man, sensing my curiosity as somewhat inappropriate, replied seriously, "I'm looking for a wife to have children and build a family. If it's just about having money, a car, and a house, I already have all of that. At this age, I want someone who can really build a life with me." My niece, hearing this, completely broke down and started crying. She walked away in tears, saying she didn't know how she would find someone now. The men, in their 30s, only want girls in their 20s. And me, at my age, do I only deserve divorced men over 40s? At this point, I was speechless. Maybe this is a price she has to pay for her stubbornness. In her golden years of youth, she had been too selective. Now, it's the men who get to choose and decide her fate.
In today's Chinese society, it's common to refer to women over 30 who remain single as leftovers. But does reaching 30 and staying single mean that a woman isn't good enough, isn't attractive, or has been left behind because no one wanted her? The truth is more complex than that. I often find myself reflecting on seemingly irrational behaviors and trying to understand the underlying logic behind them. Now, I've started to grasp part of the reason behind this behavior. It's about having a plan B. It's about validating one's own worth. If you ask what she's looking for or what she gains from it, money, material possessions, She's actually seeking freedom and fun without serious commitments or consequences. It's almost like a game, a form of entertainment that doesn't result in real losses. Often, if she maintains a good physique and meets basic beauty standards, there will always be a man willing to be by her side, even if she's 50 years old. Sadly, this is the reality, especially if she has a stable financial situation. In short, she can be as selective as she wants, searching for the perfect man, because in the end, if she doesn't succeed, there's always a plan B waiting for her. She makes the choices that best serve her own interests. Don't try to educate or change this woman, because this is her place in her social world. She adopts this behavior because over time she has seen significant gains from these social interactions. This is why both Chinese women labeled as leftovers and Western women often end up behaving similarly. If they are even slightly attractive and financially independent, a man will usually be interested, and it's rare for them to end up alone. What do you think? Does this logic make sense to you? Is there something you'd like to add or discuss? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I read every comment. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. See you in the next video.